Here's how much I love donuts. This is how much I love donuts. I love donuts so much, I will run like 5 miles so I can have one donut. I love donuts more than I hate running, and I hate running. Hate it. So, we're going to find an alternative to this because I'm really tired of running like 15 miles a day. Not that I eat 3 donuts a day. I do. I could easily eat 3 donuts a day, but that being said, we are on a keto channel, so let's find an alternative to bad donuts. Let's make keto donuts. So for our chocolate donuts, you're going to need 1/3 cup of coconut flour, 1/3 cup of swerve. You're going to want to use the confectioner's kind of powdered swerve. It's the one with the purple on it. You don't want to use the granulated kind. Then you're going to use 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And this is 100% cocoa powder. You don't want to use the semi-sweet kind of nonsense. You just want 100%. From here, you'll need a tablespoon of baking powder, 1/4 tablespoon of salt, 4 large eggs, a 1/4 cup of melted butter, and 6 tablespoons of black coffee. And you can either buy the black coffee or you can make the cup yourself, but it's really important to add that the chocolate flavor really comes from that coffee. So you could use water instead, but it's just important to note that it makes a big difference. Set your oven to 325 degrees Celsius and go ahead and grease a donut pan like this one. If you don't have one like that, I will provide a link to it on the description below, but you just need something like avocado oil spray or any kind of spray, and make sure you grease it really, really well, or you're going to end up with an issue like I did. So in a medium bowl, you want to mix together the following things. You want to mix your coconut flour, your powdered swerve, your cocoa powder, the baking powder, your salt, and you want to just take a whisk and mix all these ingredients together, and be careful not to send everything flying like I did. Following your fantastic mixing job, you want to mix together your 4 eggs in here, and you want to kind of move your whisk in a sweepy motion, kind of swooping it around. In retrospect, it would have been easier to just use a hand mixer, but I didn't, so this is what we're going with. Just mix everything together as well as you can, again, using a little swooping like motion. From here, you're going to add your 4th cup of melted butter and mix that in with everything as well. It looks kind of gross, but I promise it looks delicious by the time it's done and over with. Then you're going to mix in your 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and mix that in there as well. And your 6 tablespoons of coffee and mix it in. You'll want to mix it together until you kind of get this watery down pudding kind of like consistency. It's kind of watery. I think it's just like watery pudding. That's what the best way to describe it. Following this, you'll want to take your donut mixture and pour it into the donut pan, filling it about halfway there. This recipe yields about 8 to 12 donuts, so depending on how big your donut pan is, that's how many you'll get. You'll want to make sure that you tap your donut pan against the counter just to level everything out. Wipe up any excess from there and go ahead and throw your donuts in the oven for about 16 to 20 minutes. So while our donuts are baking, we're going to go ahead and make the icing. So in a small mixing bowl, you're going to do 1/4 cup of powdered swerve, 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. You're going to mix that all together until you get this kind of puppy chow looking mixture. It's going to be clumpy, so that's what you want it to look like. Then after that, you're going to slowly add water to the mixture 1 tablespoon at a time until you get this dippable glaze consistency. I added 2 tablespoons to my glaze and that seemed to work. So as you can see, you just want to whisk it all together until you get this pudding-like consistency. Also, pudding. You want to just look, everything looks like pudding. After you're about 16 minutes, you want to check on your donuts and see if they're done by sticking a toothpick into one of the donuts. If the toothpick comes out clean, then you're ready. You can also buy one of those super fancy devices that's actually made for that, but I'm not fancy, so I didn't do it. Flip your donuts over onto a drying rack and let them cool for about 15 minutes. If your donuts end up with little white flakes in them, it just means you need to mix the cocoa powder better. And also, make sure to really grease your pan because otherwise, this is the result. Once your donuts are cool to the touch, you'll want to pick up these delicious little energy rings and dip them topside down into the icing, wiggle them around and lift them back out. Set them on a piece of parchment paper as you work, and then set them in the fridge afterwards to cool down and to firm up for about 15 minutes. Or if you really want to, you could just eat them right off of there. They're better if you just wait. Have a little bit of patience. I really wish I could be like Homer. Delicious donuts. So this recipe is really going to depend on how many donuts you make. So I'm going to give you the macros for the entire recipe, and then you just divide that by how many donuts you make. So the entire recipe has 1,223 calories, 90 grams of fat, 20 grams of carbs, and 40 grams of protein. As always, thank you guys so much for watching my video. Like, subscribe, leave me suggestions, comments, any kind of recipes you want to see that you want me to try. I'll be happy to do them. See you around.